The most dangerous liars don't look dangerous. They don't avoid eye contact. They don't look nervous. Sometimes they look broken. Years ago, I watched the man stand under flashing police lights with tears running down his face. His voice shook. His hands trembled. Everyone believed him. 2 days later, we found out he had lied about everything. Personally, I think most people miss lies because they look for emotion, when deception is really a battle happening inside the brain. The truth comes from memory, but a lie has to be built in real time. And the longer someone maintains a fake story, the heavier it becomes mentally. Eventually, the brain slips. And once you understand what lying actually does to the mind, you start noticing patterns almost nobody else sees. Have you ever noticed how some people can lie calmly for a few minutes, but eventually start slipping on small details? That's because the human brain isn't naturally designed for deception. Telling the truth is simple. You remember an experience and describe it. But lying is different. A liar has to build a believable story while tracking your reaction, controlling emotions, hiding the real memory, and making sure nothing sounds inconsistent, all at the same time. The scary part is the brain treats this like pressure, like multitasking with too many tabs open, and eventually something starts lagging. What most people don't realize is that lies usually don't collapse because of guilt. They collapse because the brain gets overloaded trying to maintain them. That's why experienced liars often survive normal questions. But unexpected questions, that's where the performance starts breaking apart. And once you understand that, you stop looking for nervous behavior and start looking for moments where the brain suddenly struggles to keep the story alive. Most liars don't fail because they panic. They fail because the conversation stops going the way they expected. A good liar usually prepares for the obvious questions. Where were you? What happened? Who were you with? That's why some people sound incredibly convincing at first. But here's the strange part. Confidence doesn't mean the brain is relaxed. It usually means the script is still working. The moment something unexpected enters the conversation, the brain has to start improvising under pressure. And that's where tiny cracks begin to appear. A delayed answer, a sudden pause, an irritated reaction that feels slightly off. What most people miss is that deception rarely collapses during dramatic moments. It breaks during small details the liar never prepared for. And the first question that exposes those cracks is surprisingly simple. The first question is designed to do one thing: force the brain off script. Instead of asking, "What happened?" ask this instead: "Walk me through the 30 minutes before it happened, step by step." At first, the question sounds harmless, but psychologically it creates pressure almost immediately because most liars only rehearse the main event. They prepare the excuse, not the ordinary moments around it. Have you ever noticed how fake stories often skip over boring details? "I was just doing normal stuff. Nothing really happened before that." That's not random. Truth usually comes with context. Lies usually try to move past it as fast as possible. And the moment someone starts rushing over simple details, the brain may already be struggling to hold the story together. Which leads to the second question, the one that usually breaks the script completely. The second question is where things usually get uncomfortable, because this time you're no longer asking about facts, you're asking about reality itself. Instead of "what happened," ask, "what could you hear in the background? What did the room smell like? Was the place loud or quiet?" That's when many fake stories suddenly lose texture, because real memories are sensory. You don't just remember events, you remember sounds, lighting, awkward silence, background noise, tiny details your brain captures automatically. But a lie usually isn't built that deeply. It's built like a script, and scripts don't always have atmosphere. Have you ever noticed how truthful memories tend to feel lived in, while fake stories often sound strangely empty? That emptiness matters. A long pause, repeating the question back, sudden irritation. Those are moments where the brain is trying to generate reality fast enough to keep the lie alive. And the third question, that's the one that makes the pressure feel real. The third question is the one most liars fear without realizing it, because suddenly the lie is no longer trapped inside conversation. Now it might collide with reality. Instead of accusing someone directly, ask this: if I checked the cameras, logs, or records, would they match what you just told me? Notice what happens next. The answer usually changes. Not completely, just slightly. And that slight change matters, because the brain immediately starts searching for an escape route. Well, I might be a little off on the timing. I mean, from what I remember, maybe the camera angle looked different. The strange thing about deception is that people often become less certain the moment reality becomes measurable. That hesitation is important, because honest memories usually become firmer under verification. But lies, they start preparing for survival. And once you notice that pattern, it becomes very difficult to ignore. So why do these questions work so well? Because they quietly force the brain to choose between two impossible tasks: maintaining the lie or handling unexpected reality. And most people can't do both perfectly for very long. That's the real weakness of deception. Not emotion, not eye contact, not nervous hands. Mental pressure. What makes this so powerful is that truthful memories usually flow naturally. Lies have to be continuously managed, adjusted, and protected from contradiction. The brain can do that for a while, but the longer the conversation continues, the more cognitive pressure starts building underneath the surface. And eventually, something slips. A timeline, a detail, a reaction that arrives just a little too late. That's usually where the truth starts leaking through. But there's an important warning here. Not everyone who looks nervous is lying. Some people struggle with anxiety. Some panic under pressure. Some freeze simply because they're afraid of being misunderstood. That's why detecting deception is never about one reaction. It's about patterns. Have you ever noticed how truthful people usually become clearer over time, while deceptive people often become more complicated the longer they speak? That difference matters, because the goal should never be to trap people. The goal is to understand when a story starts collapsing under its own weight. And once you see that pattern clearly, conversations start feeling very different. The strange thing about lies is that most of them don't collapse all at once. They slowly crack under mental pressure. A timeline that stops making sense. A detail that suddenly changes. A reaction that arrives just a little too late. And once you understand how deception really works, you stop listening only to words. You start watching the weight behind them. Because truth usually flows naturally, but lies have to be carried. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you've ever noticed these patterns in real life. And thank you for watching.